In about a month, I'm moving from the home that I own in Washington, D.C., and I'm moving back into an apartment. And I feel like in this economy, this home, like purchasing economy, like it probably is confusing for a lot of people on why somebody that is a homeowner would leave the home that they own to go rent an apartment, especially with rent prices being crazy. But honestly, it's the best decision for me and my daughter, and I'm gonna go through the reasons, but honestly, I feel like the list is endless. Okay, number one, I am a single woman, a single mother, and I feel like living in a house, you have a little less security than you do when you live in a large apartment building that has like secured entry, a doorman, maybe even like a security personnel on staff, cameras everywhere. And I feel very vulnerable in my home at times. And look, I have a security system, shout out ADT. Not sponsored, but go ahead and do it if you'd like. I have Ring cameras, but I just feel like it's not the same as having the extra level of security that you have living in a large building. So for instance, I do go on dates and I date people, and I feel like you can Google someone and figure out their address pretty quickly, especially when you're a homeowner. There's just like databases where that information is publicly available. And so if someone got really weird after a date, like, what are you gonna do? Is somebody gonna be waiting for me outside my house? Well, I don't know. And I've had really weird situations where I felt uncomfortable. And I'd drive up to my house and be like, okay, I hope that guy's not here. He was being really weird in text today. He's sounding weird. Hope he's not outside, because if he is, like, what am I gonna do? So that's one. And these are kind of the things that you think about when you're a single woman that I feel like other people don't have to think about. But that is something I think about, and I think about it enough that I'm just over it. On like to that point, we're going to stay on that point for now, and maybe this will be like a few videos, but like even when someone delivers something to your house, people are weird, and once they know who lives there, like there's nothing you could do about it. You're just there, you're just on your own, and someone has your address. So I don't like the safety aspect of it, and maybe it's just where I live, but I'm not feeling that. The second thing is, like, my house was built in 1942. I mean, you can see I try to do a little something in here, just a little something. But at the end of the day, unless you like a home that's a little bit older, if you like that aesthetic, look, if you like that aesthetic, you'll be happy. I thought that I could buy this house at a lower price and slowly update it to my liking, and I haven't been able to. It's way more time intensive than I ever anticipated, and that means that I have to find like every fixture, find a person that's reliable to come do it. When a professional comes to do something, they always uncover like 67 other things that need to be done for this one item to be fixed. And it's very overwhelming managing that when I have so much other stuff going on. And I feel like I'm tired of being responsible for this stuff. I miss having a maintenance man. Like, having maintenance is so underrated. Like, for instance, the handle on my storm door broke off due to cold weather. The mail delivery person like went to open it. It was locked. It like snapped because it's like old and it was cold. And it has taken me months to find the specific door handle that fits on this screen door. So I have not had a door handle on my screen door for months. And if I lived in a building with maintenance, something like this would have been fixed in a week. I'm getting annoyed just thinking about it, guys. Okay, so that's that. I mean, the number of things you need to upkeep when you're a homeowner is insane. I think another issue that I just really didn't want to deal with that I thought that I did was like the landscaping. So even in DC, where I have a small plot, the front yard and backyard are overwhelming. So, I mean, I have people who mow the grass, but then the people who mow the grass don't necessarily do like other maintenance on the yard. So like weeding and things like that are something that I'd have to do. And if I don't have time to do it, it gets out of control. Besides the weeding and stuff, like if you want to plant like annual flowers, like whatever, like it's just a lot of stuff to deal with. And I have like way too much going on. And I feel like I wasn't prepared when I bought this house. I think like people will tell you that it's important to be a homeowner, but they are not realistic about how much work and responsibility goes into home ownership outside of just, oh, you're building equity. I feel like I've already talked too much, but I'm happy to make like a part 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 on why owning isn't everything that I want it to be. And I'm like counting down the days until I get back into an apartment, even if it's going to cost more, even if other people think it's stupid, even if it's throwing away money. I'm counting down the moments.
Hey friends, welcome to the Candid Lens once again. In this video, we're going to be looking at people who have bought homes and they're trying to sell their homes and go back to renting because they cannot simply afford to continue to pay for the mortgages and the utility bills, or because something broke down in the house and now it's costing them to have to go borrow a loan for them to fix it. This is very unfortunate because nobody wants to buy a home and then having to end up selling it, with all the fact that you've told family and friends if they've celebrated with you, and now you're all by yourself because everybody would give you advice to buy a house, but nobody would give you anything that looks like a dollar bill to help pay for your utility bills or your mortgage. It is also saddening that some parents are able to pay for the mortgage in the house, but they're not able to feed their children, or they can't even feed themselves. Even though they have a beautiful house, but they're not having some happiness in their mind, because at the end of the day, what is happiness when you can live in a beautiful house and you cannot even eat?
Hey, have you ever wondered what house poor looks like? I'll show you. I'm in my kid's playroom. That's right, we have a whole playroom for the kid. But I'm eating pot noodle for lunch because that's what we can afford. What with all the maintenance work and so on and so forth.
Life update for those who care. I just took my house off the market and I'm going to tell you why. Before I get into this, I want to make sure that I mention I am not an expert. I'm just talking about what I've seen in my neighborhood, okay? I listed my house 23 days ago, and at the time, there were only 2 houses for sale. Both of them had been sitting on the market for a little over 30 days. As soon as I listed, 4 more houses for sale, including my neighbor. And since then, there's been 2 more. I don't like competition, so I took my house off, but that's not the only reason. I started going just a little bit outside of my neighborhood to see how long those houses were sitting. 75 days, 89 days. Your girl know how to take a hint. If houses are not selling and they're sitting, I'm not about to have the house on the market right now. It's just not a good time, obviously. So I started doing some research because I'm thinking I can't be the only person going through this. I ended up finding this article. 2 states where home prices are falling because there are too many houses and not enough buyers. They are talking about Florida and Texas. Now, the experts say that we're not going to have a housing market crash, but it looked like it. So anyway, I'm just going to wait until after the market cools down a little bit and then I'll try again.
A lot of people bought their mortgages so that they can put some of the rooms on Airbnb. But with corporation rigging the Airbnb system now, a lot of people cannot, even if they put it on Airbnb, they cannot find anybody to rent out the space for a week or 2, leaving all the bills for them to cater for.
When it comes to owning a home, I kind of like her approach.
So my mom said to me, Mija, you gotta save your money so you can buy a house. So I bought a house.
Obviously, she's kidding, but she actually might be doing a lot better than some other people who own a home. Let me explain. You know how so many people are feeling horrible that they'll never be able to afford a home? Well, it turns out that some of the people who own homes can't even afford them. Not that that should necessarily make you feel better, but it kind of puts into perspective that you're not doing anything wrong. A new study from the Chamber of Commerce found that 1 in 3 Americans is house poor. That is a lot of people. House poor means that you're putting way more money into your mortgage or housing than you can afford. In the olden days, which means like 4 years ago, it was believed that you should put 25% of your income in housing. But now that we're in late stage capitalism, that's not realistic anymore. States with the highest amount of people who are cash poor are California, Hawaii, New York, New Jersey, and Massachusetts. Which is sort of crazy because residents in these states generally make higher incomes than the rest of the nation. But they also can pay higher property tax and income tax depending on what part of the state they live in. So why are so many people suddenly house poor? Because this wasn't always the case. The answer is bills, specifically utilities. So yeah, not everyone who owns a home is having a good time.
I promise this is not to be offensive, but have y'all noticed that we have normalized poverty? There was a guy on TikTok talking about how he doesn't like the fact that he's 50 years old and he has to have a roommate because things are so expensive. And the tone deaf comments of people saying things such as, oh, well, you have to live below your means, or, oh, you need to just go ahead and get an RV. Not realizing that the RVs and the tiny homes, the trailers, which were the solutions to the problems, are now also unaffordable. Just a few years ago, tiny homes started to become popular and they were priced at about $30,000-$40,000. Currently, tiny homes start at double that amount right now. All I'm trying to say is there's a bigger problem at hand, and telling people that they need to just completely deprive themselves of basic necessities such as a home. Y'all don't think that's weird? I don't know.
I know we have discussed being house poor in the previous videos that I've done on this channel, but here are specific people who have bought houses and they have put their house back on sale that came to TikTok to rant. And then I said, okay, let me bring all of these people together and then put it on this channel to help people understand if they're going through the same situation, that they're not alone. Like I always say, we always look at the TikTok rants and then we look for what we can learn from it. One of the things that I want you to learn from this video is you're not alone. If you feel like you have to sell your house so that you can have financial freedom, or you have to sell your house so that you can have peace of mind, go ahead and do that, because nobody is going to help you pay for anything. You are going to have to continue to pay for your bills. Thank you for watching this video. Go ahead and like, subscribe, and share this video to other people that wants to learn or that you know are in the same situation as this. I'm not going to come back at the end of the video, so go ahead and watch and enjoy, and please put it in the comment section if you have any opinion or thoughts about this, or if you have other people around you, family or friends, that have bought their houses and they've put it back on market. This is just so that other people can see and can just have the mindset that, okay, I am not alone. This is the right thing for me to do at this time.
Many millennials regret buying homes. This is why it's important for you to run your numbers so that you don't end up house poor. Let me show you what I mean. What you can qualify for and what you can comfortably afford is sometimes two different things. So if you make $100,000, the typical debt to income ratio a lender is going to use when qualifying you is about 40%. That gives you $40,000 divided by 12 months, gives you a monthly allowance of $3,333 if you have no debt. So you could buy probably around a $400,000 house. Your payment would be around $3,300 and you would just qualify and you'd be celebrating. But the next step you must take with your family is, what is your take-home pay? If you make $100,000, your take-home pay is around what? $6,200? If your house payment without utilities or anything is $3,300, that is 53% of your net pay. This is where you're creeping into the house poor area, and you don't want to be there. But I understand your frustration because you're like, hey, I make 100 grand. How can I find anything for under 400,000? Because back in the day, the financially responsible thing to do was to have your house payment be about 30% of your net. But if that were true for someone making 100K today, they would have to buy a $240,000 home, which doesn't really exist in most places. So I understand your frustration, but when you sit down with your lender, also sit down with your family, talk with your lender, and look at your net pay so that you don't end up house poor and you can actually enjoy the home you're purchasing.
Barely any furniture inside, and we're selling because they couldn't afford the rent.
Have you ever heard of the term house poor? It's essentially when people live beyond their means. Did they qualify for that mortgage? Yeah. Make 3 times the rent? Yeah. But just because you're approved for it doesn't mean you need to go for it. Now, how, you may be asking, could they qualify for this loan but actually couldn't afford to like live their life and furnish their home? Well, whenever you're shopping for a home and you get approved for a home loan, you need to make sure that you take into consideration your actual monthly bills, because the lender is only going to take into consideration the things that are on your credit report plus whatever your future mortgage is going to be. And they usually give you the maximum amount that they will loan you. You don't have to use that maximum amount, because a lot of the times when you do, you end up house po with a nice cute little McMansion and nothing inside it except you, all alone with your thoughts and that awful echo of silence, because you ain't got no furniture. So
$3,000 a month mortgage feels like a lot to me.
Go and watch that creator's video and then come back and watch this. So this guy is walking through his neighborhood, a really nice neighborhood of houses about $400,000 to $600,000, and he's saying that he can't fathom how all of these houses, where he knows what the mortgage is, because hell, he's paying a damn mortgage, how these people are able to afford like new cars on top of daycare and on top of just like everyday expenses. And I see these same sentiments every single day in the comments of videos right here on this app. And I have thoughts. You can't wrap your head around how people are living the lifestyles that they're living and able to afford what they're able to afford because you are not in the proximity of prosperity. And I totally get it. Look, I'm from Texarkana. It's a small town in East Texas. It's like a blue collar factory type town. There are a few factory jobs there that pay $60,000, $80,000 a year. If you land one of those, like, you made it. Like, you made it. So when I moved to Dallas, Fort Worth, I met my husband. The goal in my brain was for my household income to be $100,000. Like, that was making it to me in my brain. And when we met, we were making that. We were surpassing that. I was making about 65 grand a year. He was making about 90. So like, mama, I made it. We bought a nice house. We had nice used luxury cars. I got my nails done whenever I wanted. Like, life was good. All the bills were paid for. I never really had to worry about money. I thought I was at like the pinnacle of what life was supposed to be. And then I got into real estate and I got punched in the face. Getting into real estate changed everything for me, everything. My perspective on money, my perspective on life, my perspective on what success means, my perspective on the goals that I could actually achieve, like everything changed. And not even just from the income potential that I saw once I got into real estate, but more importantly, it came from my clients. When you're in real estate, you get to see behind the curtain of other people's finances because you have to know kind of how much money they're making and what their financial snapshot looks like when you're helping them buy a house. And you have to understand that at the time, my husband and I, while we were doing well and we had a decent amount of savings, the most money we ever really saved up was like $15,000, maybe closer to 20. And I'll never forget, the second client that I got was a 24-year-old girl, and she bought like a $250,000 house and she put $120,000 down on it. And I was like, girl, where you get all this money from? It wasn't a gift. It wasn't that she had the lottery. She didn't come from a rich family. She had simply been working, living extremely frugally, and had made one smart investment and with her savings, and like it changed the entire trajectory of her life. Within the first 3 months of me getting into real estate, I made almost $50,000 when I was accustomed to bringing home only $3,100 to $3,200 a month. I started talking to other real estate professionals and realized that a lot of them were making $40,000 to $50,000 per month, not even like over a 3-month span. Then I started meeting loan officers. I saw how much money they were making. I started meeting people in construction and house flippers and real estate investors and people that own small bakeries and AV companies and digital marketing services and ad agencies. And like all of these people were doing all of these things and they were all making a shit ton of money, like more money than I ever thought I would make in a year. They were making like in a month or in a week, some of them like in a day. I started meeting people that were in tech that had just jobs, but they would have 2 full-time remote jobs where they're making $150,000, $175,000 on each job. One's daytime, one's nighttime. Like, it was crazy. Even now, my husband and I flip houses. We're flipping like 20 a year, and we have our own construction company. In the next 2 months, our billing on the construction side for the remodels that we're doing is $590,000. And here's the kicker to all of that. Most of these people that I know that are making this type of money live in regular neighborhoods. They're living in neighborhoods or $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, maybe $700,000 houses. These people are not living in like crazy mansions or anything like that. And that's because they want to have a nice house, but then they want to be able to afford a lot of the other luxuries. I say all of that to say that everyone is not living your experience and your circumstance. Like, there are a lot of people out here that are doing really well for a myriad of different reasons. But most people that are doing well understand that it's tone deaf to talk about it, so they're just quiet. And when I say doing well, it could be from a number of reasons, but the majority of them took some sort of risk. Oftentimes, entrepreneurship, whether it's full time or it's something on the side, they have a side hustle, they have a business, but most of them do not just have regular jobs. And that's why you can't wrap your head around it. Because as long as your mindset is that the majority of your income is going to come from a job, there's no way that a job's going to pay you $30,000 a month. So it doesn't even dawn on you that that's a possibility. And yeah, sure, some of these people are living above their means, they're in debt, but just as many of those, it's the same or more that are actually living within their means or below their means that are genuinely doing well. They're just doing so quietly. I really wish more people had the opportunity to be exposed to folks that are making obscene amounts of money. I'm in rooms with people that, make 7 figures every single month, 500,000 every single month. And this is what they're making, guys. I wish more people had that opportunity so that our minds could understand what the possibilities really are. I think what the better question to ask around this situation is not how are these people able to afford this, but it's how do we get more people exposed to and in the proximity of prosperity so that they understand that it's a true possibility for them too. Those are my thoughts.